The rise in popularity of SUVs over the past 10 years has rocked the automotive industry. The love affair continues today, with SUVs making up half of new car registrations.
Now, the whole premise of an SUV is already pretty crap in my opinion, but today we're looking back at one of the worst looking and, well, one of the worst SUVs ever made by seemingly one of the best manufacturers.
The BMW X3 was designed to steal sales from the likes of the Freelander and attract the type of buyer who perhaps felt the humongous X5 was a bit too big.
They did this by making it a whole 2 inches shorter than the X5, pricing it at £5 less than the X5, but styling it to look like one of those sulking little kids that you just want to chokeslam. You know the ones. In here, the misery continues with a myriad of dull, cheap plastics to just about resemble the type of BMW interior we would have come to expect at the time. And it's not like BMW have done anything special with the X3 here up at the front. They haven't even got the driving position right. I mean, sure, it's low down and sporty, and perhaps the reason for that is because BMW were trying to sort of wean us onto these SUVs by not shocking us and throwing us in at the deep end. But this driving position, it's not going to please those excitable mums that say, "Oh, I do love a good high driving position, you know." Now, the lower spec Mark 1 X3s had even worse interiors. It was just, well, nothing. And at least this one has got this Ryzen low resolution screen, which would have been quite modern in the time that this car was built. You've got the two cheap little buttons here to put the screen up and down, but you can also adjust it. But listen to the sound it makes. Now, I don't know if that's just with the age of the car, but it just seems a little bit naff to me. But this car does have a saving grace. There's, of course, a CD player, there's a cigarette lighter, and a tiny ashtray that's almost sort of like vertical. I think the ash would fall out onto your knee, but nevertheless, we'll count it as a good mark for BMW. And look, hello, what's this? A 6 CD changer? Wow, this is my type of car. It's just a shame that it's packaged in the most awful way. Here in the back, there's even more good news. Not only is there another cigarette lighter and ashtrays on either side of the door, but because the X3 is virtually the size of an X5, it means that you get X5 levels of space. There's plenty of legroom, not what you'd expect from a small SUV like this, but then it is big, and also plenty of headroom. So if you're looking to save money and you need the space, then it means you can save all the money that you'd spend on an X5 and get an X3. Makes perfect sense if you ignore the fact that it falls flat on its face in every other department, like a child that's been chokeslammed. Now, first impressions of the X3, not too bad really. You know, it's got nicely weighted steering, this automatic gearbox, you know, it's not too bad, I suppose. I suppose you could almost call it the ultimate driving machine in SUV form anyway, but it's definitely not the ultimate refinement machine. The ride is rock hard, and that's something that I wouldn't have been happy with if I'd have paid 30 grand for this car new. You know, this is supposed to be a luxury car, and it doesn't ride like a luxury car, it doesn't feel like inside a luxury car, and it just looks awful. Now, BMW actually subcontracted some people in Austria to make this car, so it wasn't made in Germany and it wasn't made by Germans, but that still doesn't explain to me why the X3 is so bad. Surely someone at BMW must have said, "Listen boys, we can't put this out. It's got too many downfalls, there's too many things that aren't good about it, we've got to improve it." But they didn't. And there's a reason for that. They just knew it would sell. They gambled on the badge being able to sell this car, and of course it did. People bought this car in their droves. And they're absolute idiots. Let's just see if there's anything good on the radio.
Somebody there in a BMW X3, plainly mad, shouldn't have a driving license.
Oh. So it just goes to show that it really doesn't matter how bad a car is and how little sense it makes and how much it doesn't live up to the expectation of the brand or the segment or the type of car that it's supposed to be. As long as it's got the right badge on it, it'll sell.
So I can't see the point. Why don't you just buy a 5 Series estate?
20 years on from the X3's launch and not much has changed. Many of today's small SUVs are arguably still outclassed by the estates and saloons they outsold, leaving people who actually like cars still patiently waiting for the love affair to end.